Hey there, folks. This is James Ward. I want to welcome you to a very, very special interview that we have planned here today. Before we get started, I want us to let you know, for those of you who don't know, as I said, my name is James Ward, and not only am I an equity partner inside of Apex, I'm also the master distributor. And the interview that we have planned for you here today is with the head of our high velocity trading, okay, with Mr. Will Marshall. Now, the questions that we're going to be talking about here today are actually questions that have been compiled by different leaders out there. So I'm excited to be able to share this with you. Now, some of you know this, some of you don't. Apex is actually diversified in a lot of different asset classes, right? We aggregate our funds in a lot of different areas, but the high velocity in trading is our number one component that we work with, right? That's where the majority of what we do inside of Apex goes to. So I'm really, really excited to be able to introduce Will to you here today. So Will, without further ado, can you come out and just say hello to folks, introduce yourself, and tell us a little bit about your background?
I will. Thank you very much, James. Hello to everyone. It's my pleasure to be here. And honestly, this is a lot of fun for me to be able to get into the weeds of how all of this works behind the scenes. So first off, some quick info on myself. Like James mentioned, my name is Will Marshall. I've been an investment advisor in a few different industries, most notably the commodities markets over the last 30 years. But more importantly, I consult, help lead the investment management specifically in the high velocity sector of Apex. Our team is comprised of 6 members and includes data scientists, AI, or algorithm development scientists, which is really a glorified way of looking at mathematicians. And then we have our trade oversight component. One of the most interesting aspects of our approach is that we're not looking at this as a trading mechanism in the traditional sense, but rather as a pure data management play, which is how any good algorithm or AI system would be built. We focus our energy on the algorithm as the lead in our team. On behalf of the lead, we enable data to accumulate quickly through high-speed trading platforms that the algorithm itself then formulates strategies for.
Yeah, well, Will, thank you for bringing up the AI side of that because, listen, I'm telling you, especially in the industry that we're in right now, the term AI bot is getting thrown around everywhere, right? And listen, some of them are legit and a lot of them are scams, as we know. So I know people are going to be excited to learn more about what you guys do. So I know because obviously we've had discussions that you've been in a beta test or you guys had a beta test for a certain amount of time. So what I'd like to do is I just want you to discuss a little bit about, the beta testing that you guys have been doing, what type of results have you guys had and, maybe the assets under management. Just give us an update of what happened during that beta test and how it's worked out for y'all.
Absolutely. So for us, the test itself, the beta started last April, in fact, April 1st. In the midst of all of last year's chaos, we saw this opportunity. It was actually thrust upon us. The algorithm has been working for 2 years prior to that, although it hadn't been specifically deployed in any one specific asset class. So the anticipation was from our end was to have the data accumulation accelerate the strategies that the machine was responding to. And we didn't know which, in fact, at that point, which asset we would be deploying into. We were just looking for the data. As I said, it's a data management play. As the world fell apart, though, the decision was made for us internally to find the courage to begin to have the process actually in the beta start in the blockchain. So by April of last year, we were seeing extraordinary collapses in the market. And that was not just in equities and commodities, but everything related to the blockchain ecosphere as a whole as well. Having said all that, we have had some phenomenal success and the algorithm has learned, it's adapted, and of course it's executed like a much more seasoned agent. The results, both in trades performed and the financial results, have been magnified under an enormous amount of stress in the markets. In fact, as a very, very small fund, we've traded well over $3 billion in total value in the year to date throughout the beta. And we have an AUM of over 25 million as a net result. The testing has been better than any of us had projected, James. And honestly, the data The algorithm has accelerated its learning, and it's actually been a gift.
I would say so. Gosh, I mean, to hear those numbers, I mean, 3 billion in total value of trading year to date, your assets under management of 25 million. Those are big numbers. And, I want to congratulate you on the results. Obviously, I'm excited to be part of that as well. And, what I'd like to do is talk just real quickly. What's most amazing about that to me is that when we look at the market over the last year, we're not talking about just a bull market or just a bear market or even just a sideways market. You got to participate in all those in combination with the pandemic and all these different things that are going on. It was probably a great testing time, and probably one, like you said, maybe you didn't expect to get the results that you got, but having the data that you've been able to use has been awesome. So, do you mind telling me just a little bit about the methodology of your trading strategies? I mean, is this arbitrage based, or what type of technology are you looking for? Just kind of expand on the strategies themselves and exactly how you guys do this.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be my pleasure as well. Listen, the algorithm has used its own internal strategies working with the creation and origination team to adapt to market conditions. So here's the way to look at it. If the market is slow one day, it uses one strategy. If it's coming off, the price is deteriorating, then it uses a different strategy. And so the trade or data points are creating learning opportunities for both us as a team and it as the lead, the machine itself. The issue, as I'm sure you're aware, with all markets is that the bias in trading is the bias that the trader, he or she themselves, brings to the table. The confidence that we all have in greater talent and better execution, it's always going to be better executed by the highly trained professionals. And the algorithm in this case, the algo itself, is that professional. It does not sleep. It does not attribute emotion to a decision. It's agnostic. The decision is mathematical. It's cold. The facts are the facts. The volume is the volume. And the profit, any profit, is its reward. So small trades reduce exposure, and short hold periods further reduce that exposure on a daily basis. So the more trades equals more data. So it's feeding off its trades. It's gathering more information. The more data that it can gather, it makes a better trader of itself. Our trader never sleeps, and therefore it never stops working. The markets are open 24/7 in the blockchain.
Yeah, well, man, one thing that you said there for me, and we've talked about this, I was a stockbroker for like a decade. And, the one thing that I constantly dealt with is I dealt with the emotions of clients, right? Whether the markets were flying high, everyone was greedy. If the markets were crashing, everyone had that fear. So you're constantly dealing with that fear and greed in any equation of life almost, but especially when it comes to finances. And, one of the things that I love about the high velocity trading is that you guys are taking 100% of the emotion out. I mean, the one thing that I really locked into there was the data point, right? You guys are gathering data on a regular basis through a lot of different methodologies that I don't even understand, even having some financial background. You also talked about that velocity, right? As far as the amount of trades that you guys are doing on a daily basis, which I know that you guys are doing around 4,000 to 10,000 trades a day, which is just insane if you really think about it. But what I would like to know, and I think what people might like to know, is because you talked a little bit about your financial background and being in different areas as far as an investment advisor. What led you guys down the road to actually deal with the blockchain and crypto versus, there's so many different options out there. What got you to the point where you're at today?
Well, again, it goes back to being at the right place at the wrong time, if you understand what I'm saying. So the view was to deploy into commodities or equities, both traditional assets, obviously, and they have well-known and highly coveted marketplaces and exchanges. And those exchanges, they're really perfect for trading because they're well built out. They have decades of experience, and they have an infrastructure, both technological and human intel, that allow them to perform better than anything else that's out there. So when you look at what was happening back, say, April 1st, when we first deployed, the equities had collapsed. And it wasn't a total collapse. However, the market was off 30%. And the oil and gas industry, well, it went negative. So the acceleration through that backwardation meaning the price itself was under total collapse. The decision was made for us with or without our own input. We decided that it was either going to be a gold or a blockchain opportunity, James, and not a traditional investment environment. So we could be fearful or we could find the courage. So luck, as they say, is for the brave. We got lucky and we made the right choice.
Well, luck favors the brave. There's no doubt, as they say. So, listen, man, I know everyone that's listening to this, we've all been affected by the pandemic, right? I mean, that was just a cool story about what you said that kind of led you guys to your path. And I've had businesses affected. People have been hurt along the way. We all know that. But, during these challenges, that's oftentimes when the greatest opportunities are created. And I know that you're looking at a revolutionary opportunity with Apex. So, what I want to talk about really quickly that I think will relate to the high velocity trading and what we're doing here is, our token inside of Apex. As you guys know, we have the AFT token, and the AFT token is a non-speculative token, right? It doesn't go up or down. It's $1. It always stays steady. But what is more important for you to understand is that what Apex has done through our aggregation, not only working with the high velocity, but also working with multiple different asset classes out there, is it's created a way for people to be able to participate in the upside of the market with no down days. And I can tell you, being in that financial industry, if I had that story to tell back in the day, I mean, what an amazing story it would be. I mean, you just talked about how, the energy market was negative. The stock market had sold off 30%. Can you imagine being able to work with something that, regardless of what's going on out there, when you look at your account, you don't see a negative, you don't see it going down. And that's exactly what AFT, the Apex token, has been able to do. It has created this, this medium that eliminates the volatility that's out there. And, Will, we've seen the crypto markets, and I know especially y'all, because you've talked about you earning on the upside and the downside. When a correction happens, sometimes it goes down 25 to 40%, like an average crypto correction if we're talking about Bitcoin. And, that emotionally really can't hardly be handled by most people out there, right? That fear gets in there, that they're going to lose all their money, or the greed gets in there on the upside, as we've talked about. So I love what we've done with the AFT and what it's doing for people. Now, well, I know you specifically, you've worked primarily with sophisticated investors, and a lot of times people have to have even seven figures, to work with you. And Apex is doing an amazing job of bridging that gap, right, between the average investor versus a sophisticated investor. But here's the deal. Here's the one thing I know, and I wanted you to talk on this. Emotions are emotions. We can't take those out of humans. So, if you had someone coming to you today saying, what do you think the difference is working with, say, a high velocity trading platform versus, manage it on myself, or just hiring some AI bot or something like that? Give me some input, what you see out there from an emotional standpoint, which differentiates working with someone versus not.
Well, thank you for saying that, James. So listen, here's the thing I believe that we need to focus on. And that's the fact that it's very difficult for us as humans not to be emotional. We're winning, we're joyful, we're losing, we're despondent. The algorithm is the partner, it's the executioner. It makes every single decision on its own. The way to look at it is this: if we're in a long position and the market's going sideways, are we buying or are we selling? Well, you have to guess, you have to have belief. Well, the algorithm itself is not in any way, shape, or form going to rely upon belief. It just relies upon its own sophisticated, if you will, concise and clear principles, which is it needs to learn. So it'll open a day, the market's up, and it might not be involved because it doesn't fill its strategic minimum guarantees to get a result. It might trade for 45 minutes, it might trade for 4 hours. It might close down in one exchange and it might open up in another one. But more importantly, it's disciplined, and it does the things that we can't do. It can execute huge amounts of trades in a multitude of different exchanges and reduce the risk. So here's the other way to look at it. If we can do one thing as a team to make the machine better, it's to execute more trades. So that data accumulation, every trade is just a data point. And that data accumulation is why the machine does so well, because we trade so much. If an individual or a team of individuals tried to execute on 10,000 trades in a day, you would fail. And oppositely to that, you probably wouldn't start at all. So trading for us is really how we get better at what we do. And the algorithm, through its process of formulating different strategies, is a perfect student.
Yeah, man. Well, I get kind of giddy, Will, when the more I learn about this from a high velocity standpoint, and because I've seen it, as I've talked about, the highs and lows, and that's really one of the reasons why I love Apex and what we've been able to accomplish here with, these aggregation of funds, and being able to say, hey, you got this upside potential. I mean, who doesn't want to be part of a platform that trades at the level that you guys do and is using data rather than that human emotion? It's awesome, and having access that for our Apex customers is absolutely awesome, right? So, I know you understand how we diversify things. We're not just in the high velocity. We're in the fundamental trading. We're in derivatives. We're in the commodity market. We're in factoring. We even do some e-commerce. There's so many attributes and aspects of Apex. That's what makes it so dynamic and allows us to protect people, not only on the downside, but give them that upside potential. I think people would like to know, as far as the high velocity trading, what do you guys do for diversification? I mean, are you guys reliant just on Bitcoin? Is that what we're talking about? What do you guys do as far as diversifying inside of your own platform?
That's a great question. And from our perspective, the high velocity trading is, of course, diversified, but how do we diversify? So let's just look at what the options are. We can go into different exchanges. We can start at different times of the day. We can start at different times in the world. We can weight it so that we're trading at open in one market and trading in close in another. But more importantly, we don't choose one specific crypto. We don't choose one particular asset class. We're not going long or short on a predictable basis. So in fact, it's uncorrelated to the overall direction of the crypto market. What I mean by that is, one day the market might be entirely sideways, but we go short, and then the next day it's going up. We might go short against that. As it comes down, we might go long. It depends on the data points that the machine itself, that is the algorithm, sees as an opportunity. So its ability to look at opportunity is far faster than even 10 or 20 of us combined.
Well, that's awesome, man. Because I mean, I think diversification. I think people just being able to understand, hey, we're not just relying on one crypto or one exchange or anything like that. You guys have several different data points. I mean, it's amazing to be able to learn about this. I'd like to kind of shift directions here a little bit and talk about what type of limitations are in the high velocity trading, meaning that from an asset standpoint, are you guys able to grow as big as you want? Is there a level at which you say, hey, we don't want to go over that? Can you talk a little bit about limitations, if there are any, or if this is, if there's $1 trillion to go in, you guys are willing to do it? Like, just kind of break that down for me, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I will. Here's the way to look at it. Let's put it in context. So the entire blockchain industry, as we know it, as it's traded, as it's valued, and what its net value is overall as a collective. Let's say that you were to look at all the top 100 tokens. That entire value is less than the value of all the Apple stock in the world. So that one commodity, as we know it as blockchain, is not worth collectively as much as the Apple stock is as it trades on the New York Stock Exchange. So in reality, we're at the very beginning. It's not big, it's not small. It's definitely growing. As the prices increase, of course, the value goes up, but it also creates more opportunity. And as it is right now, that opportunity is not as big as what it could be, but it's a very nice place for us to be. Our sweet spot is we want to be a very, very small percentage of the market cap. We're looking at $200 million or less. That's where we're comfortable today. In the future, it will change. We will move to other commodities. We will add different exchanges. There's going to be aggregations. There's going to be consolidation. And with that brings more value, security, and professionalism to your investors.
Well, I got to tell you, man, To me, hearing that is really a breath of fresh air. And let me tell you why. So, what I've seen out there constantly is, especially with these AI bots popping up and all different types of companies that are out there that are primarily scams, let's just be honest. They're willing to bring in as much money as they want, as they could possibly get. If you could tell them, hey, you bring us, $5 billion, they are in. Like, there's no cap whatsoever. And based on what you just said to me, that indicates that is not even possible, right? The market's not even ready for that type of trading. It can't even handle it. And you taught me something there about Apple stock. I didn't realize that. So that puts things into perspective for the normal person. We all know Apple, right? Most of us use Apple, at least some product. I'm using one right now, and my phone's an Apple. So to see that and put that in perspective, because when we talk about this market, like, everyone's just like crazy about it. Like, everyone just assumes that it's the biggest thing in the world, and you just put it in perspective. We're talking about one stock is bigger market cap than the crypto market. So that's really amazing. But the thing that I really liked about what you said was the cap. You guys are talking about a $200 million assets under management cap. Inside of Apex, we have a couple of different caps as well that we're going to be looking at. 250 million, we're going to take a hard look at where we're at, and then the next cap would be 500 million. There's only a billion AFT tokens that were created in all, right? So it's really important to understand that this is something that I've said so many times is real, and that's definitely what it is all about. So Will, I really, really want to tell you thank you so much for coming out here today to do this interview. I know you're super busy. You guys are doing amazing things there, and I'm so excited to see what happens in 2021, and the way that things happen inside of Apex, not just with high velocity trading, but everything. So I want to tell you thank you for taking the time to come out here. Is there anything final you'd like to say before I wrap this up?
First and foremost, I want to thank you, James, for bringing us into the team and allowing us to have this opportunity. But more importantly, we share a vision. You and I both understand where we're at. We know exactly where the marketplace is for ourselves. And we also understand that we need to be small. We need to be agile. We need to be professional. We don't want to talk big numbers. We have to keep it conservative, and we have to make sure that we care for our clients first and foremost, more than anything else.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that, man. Your professionalism is just it's off the charts, and very refreshing in a time where there's so much uncertainty out there and so many things that are popping up, and we're all still just trying to get educated on this, right? I mean, in this entire crypto space, and just growing our money in general. So if you're watching this today, obviously what you hopefully got from this interview is some great education, but the realness of what we are inside of Apex, and the different type of attributes that we have and the different type of people that we're working with. So Will, again, thank you so much for your time, man. We really appreciate it. I look forward to 2021. As I said, I'm sure we'll do more of these as time goes. So I look forward to that. So have a great evening, great morning, great afternoon, wherever you're at. And thank you for taking the time to watch this.
Thank you.